Hey, my name is McDuffee. I run the blog My Question Life, which is all about trying to improve our self-awareness and discover who we are. And today I'm going to talk to you about a super important topic, how to recognize our patterns, especially those ones that are self-sabotaging, and then how to actually use them to our advantage as we start to reclaim our lives and the things that we want. So first, let's talk about patterns and what they might look like. We all have patterns every single day that our brains do unconsciously without us actually deciding. Our patterns have become so ingrained in our everyday reactions that we often don't even notice that they're taking place. For example, I'm sure we all have that person in our lives that continues to make the same mistake or the same bad decision over and over and over again. And it is so obvious to us that they need to change, but yet they don't see it. Fortunately, we are that person to somebody else. And it's not really our fault. When we are stuck in these patterns, it's really hard to see it from an outside perspective. And that's for a couple reasons. And while a lot of us are triggered by the same underlying emotions of shame and fear and anxiety, they can manifest themselves in a lot of different ways. Another thing that's working against us is that a lot of our patterns are actually rooted in our childhood. So at some point as a child, you felt some sort of negative emotion and you reacted in a way that tried to help you combat that emotion. And it served you, or maybe it didn't. But now, when you feel that emotion as an adult, it's going to manifest itself in different behaviors. Another thing about these self-sabotaging patterns is that we're often not deciding to do them. Our brains are deciding for us. So every time we perform an action, a pathway in our brain forms. And the more times we perform that action, the stronger and stronger that pathway is, which is why we need to recognize them. So important steps in how to recognize some of these self-sabotaging patterns. First, as much as you can, you want to zoom out. Whether that's looking at your life as if you are a third-person observer, whether that's writing from a third-person point of view, or maybe just kind of looking at the evidence of your life over a month or year span rather than a day-to-day. This zoomed-out perspective might help you start seeing, okay, here's where I'm starting to do these same things over and over again, and you can dig a little deeper as to why. Once you can start to say, hey, these are the behaviors that I'm doing, you'll recognize the behaviors first, and then you can kind of backtrack to, all right, what caused that? Back to my example, when I start realizing that I'm trying to control things, it's a really good clue for me to say, okay, wait, I'm trying to control things. That means I'm feeling uncertain about something. Okay, what is it I'm uncertain about? Next, you want to interrupt the pattern. Our brains might default to these self-sabotaging patterns, but once we recognize it, we can stop it. And that's really important to tell yourself, hey, what I'm doing isn't actually helping, even if your brain thinks it is. But what I need to do is I need to address the problem that's actually triggered this pattern. And finally, once you go through these 3 steps, you can work to create a different pattern. But by giving yourself and your brain an alternative, you can say, all right, when I feel like I want to do this or turn to this, I'm actually going to do this instead. And I think you'll be surprised by how quickly, if you're intentional about it, you can start creating new behavioral patterns in your life. Then you can start doing all of the inner work you need to do to get where you want to go, rather than being bogged down and kind of blind and stuck in these self-sabotaging patterns. And of course, as always, your journal is a great place to start. Our emotional patterns happen, but when you recognize them, you can begin to use them as really vital clues for what's going on in your life. And from there, you can develop your self-awareness and start making decisions that are going to help you in the long run. Thanks for watching.